Good morning everybody and welcome back to another War Thunder video, and it's time for another debating topic. This time I'm going to be talking about ARB, more specifically how we bring back ARB, how we reinvigorate people's love for ARB. Now, it's fair to say that I am not the biggest War Thunder RB player. I never have been and I probably never will be. I'm one of those people who prefers ground forces, mainly because it's what I'm better at. Now, the footage that you're watching in the background is the Enduring Confrontations mode that ran over the weekend. I don't know if it's still running or not. I don't think it is. I think it was just over the weekend. Yes, the Enduring Confrontation game mode, which Gaijin have been working on for a while. Now, the reason this is relevant is because I think there is an awful lot in Enduring Confrontation that we could use to make ARB a little bit more palatable and bring back people's love for playing it. Alright, so we better begin with why I think ARB is not as palatable as it once was. And this can be summed up in one sentence, but I'll go into it in more detail in a second. The sentence in question is that it's basically gotten stale. The formula has not changed much, if at all, since War Thunder was released five or 6 years ago now. And the actual game mode itself has seen a slow decrease in players over the last 3-4 years. And especially since Ground Forces was introduced. As the player base has dipped, which it inevitably will do if there's not enough to get people to come back every day, or even every week or every month. As the player base has dipped, people's interest in the game mode has dipped along with it, and I think this is because of several reasons. First of all, ARB is rather stale. It's gotten boring. The formula has not changed much at all. You climb to altitude, you boom and zoom enemy aircraft, or you turn fight depending on which sort of vehicle you're in. Despite there being heavy bombers, attackers, ground attackers, dive bombers, you know, fighters, I don't know, carrier-based fighters as well, I suppose, could be kind of a different set. Anyway, you get the point. Basically, the actual game mode itself has gotten rather boring, and there's not... When you play ARB, you have two choices, and that's a bomber or a fighter. If you play in a ground forces aircraft, ground attacker aircraft, sorry, you fly to the general location where you know all the ground targets are, such as bunkers, machine gun nests, tanks, trucks, etc. Depending on the BR that you're playing at as well, obviously. And you just get bounced on by 3 or 4 enemy fighters who are well aware of where your attackers are going to be, and just fly there to intercept you. Yes, this is realistic to a certain extent. Enemy fighters would have known where your ground attackers are going to be heading, roughly, and they would be aware to protect those areas. But it's not particularly dynamic, and it would get very, very boring after a while. So, getting that out of the way, long story short, I think the Enduring Confrontation, which is by no means perfect, by the way, is quite possibly the best example we can use to make ARB more relevant again. Now, you'll notice from the footage of the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, I'm flying in my Yak 7B. This is obviously Stalingrad, but during the summer. And the map is massive. There are only about 8 players on either side, and yet you'll see the screen is absolutely full of red player indicators. That's because the game mode also has AI. Now, I said I wasn't particularly good at ARB, which is easily explained by the fact the last few aircraft I've just shot down were all AI. But it looks good for the video, so I'm not complaining. Now, I think now would be a good time to point out that this idea is by no means new. The European Canadian released a video very similar to this yesterday or the day before, and I hadn't watched the video before this idea popped into my head. I had thought this is a great idea of how they could make ARB more relevant again, and of course he beat me to it, but I still felt that I should make the video. After all, the more people know about this, the better. I assume a lot more people will be watching his video, but hey, I like doing my bit, so there's that. So, here we go. The idea behind this turn of thought is that for those of you who've ever played IL-2, Battle of Stalingrad, and its relative expansions, The way the game actually plays out online is you have one large dynamic map with a bunch of targets on it and enemy bases, and it's very fluid in the way it works. Your players have to protect your ground attackers and bombers in order to destroy as many enemy positions, vehicles, trucks, trains, bases, armament factories, all that sort of stuff. Very realistic to how the war was actually fought on the Eastern Front. It's much the same here, although it's not as in depth. There are flights of friendly bombers, dive bombers, IL-2s in this case, flying around attacking enemy ground forces. At the very beginning of the video, you'll note that I was actually flying toward them to protect them. You can play it like that. In theory, this could become really, really good if you had squads doing this. You have a flight of, say, 5 yaks and a couple of guys in IL-2s flying, and your guys could mingle in with the AI so that you had more defensive gunners around you, both from your squadron members in their aircraft as well as the other AI Sturmoviks, and you go and bomb out the enemy targets. Now yes, you could do this in RRB as well, but in this game mode it would feel a hell of a lot more fluid, a hell of a lot more realistic, and it wouldn't feel so forced. There is more of an incentive there from the things going on around you to try and work as a team, unlike in RRB where the bombers decide to argue about which base they want to destroy, the fighters bugger off in a general direction and just go hunting kills. The bombers have no support, the bombers drop their payload, get shot down, and then leave the match, or stay in the chat bitching at their team for not supporting them. It's online gaming, it happens a lot. Another thing, speaking of getting shot down, that comes to mind is respawns. I have actually respawned once in this match. It won't be the first time, I assure you. You pay the research cost of your vehicle in order to respawn, but you don't have any limited spawns per vehicle. So in ground RB, you can respawn the same vehicle twice, as long as you have a backup, but only twice. You can't carry on respawning that vehicle so long as you have the right amount of backups. In Enduring Confrontation, however, it doesn't work like that. You can respawn as many times in the same vehicle as you like, but you have to pay the repair costs for that vehicle every time. I like this idea. The matches last longer as well, and even shooting down 5 AI at this tier is more than enough to accumulate the money you'd need to pay for another respawn. So you're not losing drastic amounts of money during the process. The time that the matches last is obviously up for debate. The matches in IL-2 tend to last a very long time. They can last like 3 or 4 hours, maybe even longer depending on the amount of people in the server. Gaijin could fiddle with that as much as they like, ask the community how long they think the matches should last. I think 15-20 minutes is more than enough, or at least that should be how long the matches can last. I've been in RRB matches that have lasted almost an hour, due to usually a bomber who's dropped his payload, doesn't want to pay his repair cost, and has just gone to altitude. This is nothing new. I'm very much preaching to the choir here. I'm sure you're all too familiar with that as a concept. It's incredibly annoying, but I don't blame them. If I was in their position, I'd be doing the exact same thing, because bomber repair costs at high tier. I don't have the what's the big Russian bomber at 8.0? Is it the Tu-6? I can't remember what it's called, but I know if I was paying 30 grand every time my aircraft got shot down, I wouldn't want to do that either. Especially if you've only bombed out one base. It's a bit of a slap in the face if you've only earned, say, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 experience and you have to pay 30,000 lions repair cost. That's pretty much it, really. I think that the Enduring Confrontation mode has a lot of potential. It's nowhere near perfect, obviously, but then it's not perfect. It never will be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect game mode. No such thing as a perfect game. Hate to tell you that. But please understand, I criticise the game because I love the game. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Is there anything you changed from my ideas? I mean, this is only a 10-minute video. I haven't covered everything in detail, so there are things obviously still up in the air, but I want to hear from you in the comment section on Reddit, wherever else this video ends up. Please like, share and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next Wolf Hunter video. Cheers!